on to change the world. He was the creative mind behind the classic Lemmings. And just a few years later, he helped creating Grand Theft Auto into one of the most successful franchises in gaming history. Today, he takes us back to those early days. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Mike Dailly. The mic? Yeah, take this. Yeah. As DMA's first employee in 1989, I think, how did joining the team at such an early stage, how was this company at this stage?
It was...
A bit closer?
Yeah, it was, I mean, bedroom coding at its best. We all met before DMA, so we were all friends anyway. So when we started DMA, it was just another progression in what we were doing. So it was great fun, just hanging out with friends all the time. Yeah.
Lemmings was inspired by an animation you made of little figures marching up a hill and getting blown up. Can you tell us the story behind this animation?
Sure. Yeah.
And how it was the idea for Lemmings at the end?
So the initial part of Lemmings was a little character because of an argument. Scott Johnson had been hired to do graphics for a game called Walker. And he started out drawing the Walker and then drawing little men to go with it. The little men were really tall compared to the Walker graphic. The Walkers from Star Wars, the AT-AT Walkers, and when you see them in the film, characters only come up to about the feet, but the character on the Amiga that he'd done, they were up towards the knee, so they were really tall. So I would say that's not going to work. They need to be much smaller. And he said you couldn't make them any smaller than 16 by 16 pixels. Just can't do that. So I thought he was wrong, and then I spent lunchtime or so just to kind of prove my point. And then the animation just came about because D-Paint's really good and fun to use, and you could just make them walk across the screen and do things. And I had an animation from a gun that I'd drawn before that I just put in and got them to shoot, and that's what I showed the team. And they were all kind of falling about laughing at all the different ways you could make them kind of die, because that's what we do.
I read you did a prototype of Lemmings with 7 or 8 levels. At what time you thought about doing the full game?
No, the initial prototype was static screen. Russell Kay took the Lemming graphic, scribbled some stuff on, and then on a PC got 100 Lemmings just walking out one side of the screen and on the other. Having 100 characters on screen was really 8 megahertz, 86, so it was a slow machine. To have that many things moving was huge. And that was the first prototype that was done, and that was shown to Psygnosis at a PCW show in London. Nobody was really interested in it at that point, to be honest. So it took a wee while to gain traction.
We had to talk about the nuke button, the button that clears the level in a burst of rainbow explosions. Did you expect players to embrace this darkly humorous option, and how did such an idea get into the game at the end?
So it comes about because of two things. First, being a puzzle game, there'll be times when you fail. So you can either just you could put hit escape in and it would stop, or you need to end the level some way. The second one was that Dave Jones, who wrote the Amiga one, loved Defender, the game, and he loved that explosion. So it just kind of went hand in hand of, how do you stop a level? We'll just put it in and have them explode all over the place. Because the whole thing with Lemmings was coming up with new and creative ways of killing them. So this was just another one. And the first time we showed it to Brian Watson, who did the Atari ST version, he laughed so much he fell back off his chair, because it was just so different and funny.
And by 1994, you were working on a driving game prototype called Race and Chase that eventually became the first GTA. How did that early engine evolve into GTA? Tell us a story about it.
So about in early 94, I'd finished Lemmings 2 and I'd finished doing work on Uniracers, and I was given just time to just go and do some R&D and play about with ideas. I started out doing an isometric engine, but there'd been lots of isometric games, so that was a bit boring. So I thought, could you make it spin? So I did this rotating isometric engine, and we actually gave that to a team to go off and do a game with. And they started the game that was kind of like Syndicate Wars, but more of a storyline of GTA 2. But they had technical problems with actually getting the performance of this going. While they were doing that, I'd taken that engine and decided to try and replicate the 3D that was in Clockwork Knight on the Sega Saturn. So it's a side-on platformer game, and you had really nice parallax with the platforms, and I really wanted to try and do that on the PC. So I came up with a way of doing that for a single block, that kind of fundamental tile that's in GTA, the cube that goes in there. I managed to get one of them moving, and then using the original prototype that was just all cubes, I put a whole load of them in and then viewed it from top down. It was still a platformer by that point. And then I showed some of the guys at GTA that were working on Body Harvest, and one of the guys there, a guy called John White, told me that he'd been trying to get a racing game past Dave for years, but Dave just wasn't interested. So I suddenly realized, although it was a side-on cube platform thing, if I put a wall in the distance and then just painted roads on it, all of a sudden it's top-down, not side-on. So I showed Dave Oz, who was one of the lead artists, Keith Hamilton, Steve Hammond, I showed all them it running, and Dave was just fascinated by this possibility of having a city kind of living and breathing and doing stuff. Because Dave's a huge fan of open worlds. When you think of GTA, it's like really the first big open world game. But actually, Lemmings was an open world game as well. You got a level, you got the tools, and then you could go and do it however you wanted. We crafted it so that you could only really do it one way, particularly later on, but it was still an open world game. And GTA kind of followed on from that. So once we had that, we gave that to a team, and that was the very basis of the first GTA.
GTA was an adult game, so you could input things that you could not input, not put in other games, for example. And how did you navigate the moral boundary during development?
We didn't really care. It was, I mean, anything that we thought was funny and interesting went into the game. Being able to give it an 18 or R rating took away all the problems with it. Because if you compare it to what movies were, it was nothing. It's a blob of pixels on the screen. Back in the UK, I mean, we had it being debated in Parliament for this murder simulator. And you look at it and it's a joke. None of them had played it or really cared about it. It was just another thing to moan about. But it was just, if something was fun, it went in. It's also one of the reasons it took so long to do. Because somebody would come up with a cool thing of, oh, we could do ambulances. Yeah, they could go and help. And then somebody says, oh, but I want to steal the ambulance. Oh, let's put that in as well. And same with things like the Hare Krishners and stuff going up in the Garang. It all just came about because somebody thought, oh, that'd be really funny, let's do that. And that's, the whole game is like that.
During playtesting, were there any surprising bugs or player behaviors in GTA or Lemmings that forced you to rethink or design in another way?
In Lemmings, the playtesting was pretty good. Psygnosis did most of it. We were all pretty expert at playing the game by that point. When we were designing levels for it, because we were so good at it, it was really hard to beat the other guys in the team. So we spent all our time coming up with the most difficult levels possible, and we'd still solve them in seconds. So we weren't the ideal testers, obviously, for that. So Psygnosis did most of that. We get back faxes with comments on it saying, this is good, maybe a bit too hard, blah, blah, blah. And occasionally we'd get one back that was just a sheet covered in swearing because it was so hard. I think there was one that took them over an hour to complete, one of mine, but I was really pleased with, because that's what you aim for with these things, is just trying to fox somebody that's really good at the game and still they can't solve it. In GTA, we never really had any big surprises, except that it was supposed to be this cop thing, but very quickly that was thrown out the window because people just wanted to break the law all the time. Steal a car. Oh, that's a nice car. I want that one. And I want to get out and get in the car. And again, that's how that feature came about, because they wanted that car going past. And things like stopping at traffic lights and all this kind of stuff, the team lead, Keith Hamilton, was the only person that drove around the city obeying the rules, because somebody had to test it. So he would go up to stop at traffic lights, take the turns, not hit anything, just to make sure the game would play properly, because nobody else did it. So aside from that, everybody just ran rampant, so there was always little quirks coming up.
GTA grew from that first game into a multi-billion-dollar franchise. How do you feel now, seeing what GTA has become and its influence on gaming and popular culture?
It's bizarre. I mean, when did we do that? 94. So I was 24 when I did that. And to see it now is just, I mean, it's huge. It kind of, to sum it up, is it appeared on The Simpsons as Grand Theft Walrus. And to see that and, something you did appear in something like that is just amazing. I mean, we've got stuff in museums back home as well from the company. And it's just, to be in a museum and you're not dead is just weird. And it's so cool.
Looking at both games now, how do you reflect on their place in gaming history? What part of Lemmings and GTA's legacy are you most proud of?
It's probably more Lemmings. Lemmings I've got a really soft spot for. I love the characters. I love the things you can do with them. The game is such good fun to work on and make levels for. GTA, it was great fun to do it, and I love being in the city and just driving about. The missions and stuff I don't really care about. Most of the people that I know go into GTA to wreak havoc and just cause mayhem. I don't know many people that play GTA. So I think it's that open world thing that's really is what we're so fond of and that came out from it. And again, it's like say, Lemmings is the one I really have the soft spot for. I love the characters.
Fans love hidden secrets. I read about the SNES version that there was a hidden mode. Did you create Easter eggs or other secret features in Lemmings or other games that fans might not know about?
In Lemmings? No, the SNES Lemmings, I put a few Easter eggs in. No, I don't think any of the other levels had it, versions had it. So in the Super Nintendo Lemmings 2, there was a various cheat mode on the front end. If you go and click all the windows and doors, it enables some kind of cheat mode. I can't remember what it is, it just comes up cheat. There's also a single pixel on the Lemmings 2 title screen, which if you click, takes you to the end sequence. I needed a way to test it. So there's a little pixel just under one of the two. It's a single pixel. If you click, it takes you to the end sequence. There's also a pixel, a dot above the eye on Lemmings 2, that if you click, you get what I call visual sound effects that appear above the Lemmings head. So as they fly across the screen, they'll say "wee" kind of thing in text, which is quite fun. But the best one is I put a super scope into Lemmings 2. So if you plug a super scope into the second port of the SNES Lemmings, you can shoot them and blow them up.
Okay.
And it's really cool.
That's nice, yeah. Lemmings is, in my opinion, one of the greatest games ever made. And in our museum in Hamburg, the original Amiga version is still played regularly, often by visitors who never have touched a computer before. And everyone always asks, why is there no way to legally buy the original Lemmings 1 today on platforms like Steam, GOG or other things?
Because Sony own it and they don't care. So Sony own the IP. So DMA and Psygnosis owned the IP initially. They sold the IP to Psygnosis, and then Psygnosis got bought by Sony, and they only put their stuff on their platform. So it's not going to appear on anything.
It's very sad because, as I said, people who never played on a computer were exciting. I have guests in my museum that say, I will not touch anything here. Yeah. They saw the Lemmings, oh sweet. And some minutes later they let them fall down and die.
I believe the Windows version is owned by somebody else. It gets a little bit murky. But I think the Windows one somebody else owns.
But it's not available today. Yeah?
No. I'm amazed that the handheld, the mobile version came out, because getting hold of Sony lawyers to do any kind of deal with them is a nightmare. And they've managed to do it, so that was really impressive. So it's a shame that, again, they've not done much with it.
And I think the first version still is the best, because it's very, it has a sort of tutorial in the beginning.
It's interesting. We get a question a lot about, usually when there's a few of us on stage and they're trying to create a fight between us, which one was the best? But we all tend to agree that the technology in Lemmings 2 is great, but we like the Lemmings 1 game. So we put the tech from Lemmings 2 into Lemmings 1 and add a couple of skills, because we love the vertical levels as well. Yep. You can't really do that in Lemmings 1. So there was a couple of skills from Lemmings 2 that would be really good. So just expand it ever so slightly and then use the tech from Lemmings 2, and that would be the ideal Lemmings game.
I think in part 2 there were too many options for newer players. And as I said, we have players from 8 to 80 that love the first version.
And the two-player one's been totally ignored. Yep. These days, having like a battle royale with like 16 players in a Lemmings level would be amazing, especially across the internet now, would be amazing. So one day maybe.
Great to be on stage today, and I think some people in the audience have questions. If someone wants to know anything, come to the stage and ask.
No questions. Escape.
Yeah,
No.
come on. We have to take this micro. Yeah.
I think there was a level editor for Lemmings 1, but there is some dispute over the rights. Can you tell us a bit about that?
The level editor in Lemmings 1 was really cool. It was built into the game, so it would just hit escape to get into it. So instead of aborting level, it go back into the level editor, would make an adjustment of like a couple of pixels, hit escape, back into the game. The turnaround in it was amazing, but it's part of the game, and that means Sony own it, which means it'll never come out again. I am technically recreating Lemmings on a ZX Spectrum Next, using assets from the PC one, so it should be technically legal, and I might try and get editors and 2-players and stuff into that if I get around to finishing it, because it's just, as long as you don't use the assets or ship the assets, then it's fine. So I've got a program that converts the PC stuff into what I need, and I only ship what I've written, so maybe. We'll see.
Any more questions? Yeah, come here.
Yeah, I think that there was a prototype arcade PCB that was found recently. I don't know if you could tell us anything about this.
So, back in the 90s when Lemmings was big, Data East were really interested in doing an arcade one. Daillyn got sent a board prototype of the arcade board, and it was mostly working. There were some bugs and stuff going. When Daillyn went under, my friend and I were allowed to go and raid the offices for whatever was left, and the arcade board was sitting on a shelf. I swiped it. It's now down in the RMC Archive Museum, the Retrokompott thing, and they built an arcade machine around it, which is amazing. It's so cool. I've yet to, no, I did see it run, just. And it's, to actually have it in a machine and be able to play 2-player with it is just incredible. But as far as we know, that's the only one left. So it's, they went over it and they cleaned it up and then made a machine for it, which is phenomenal.
Anyone else?
When you created the prototype for GTA, were you aware of the Amiga game Hunter, which was basically GTA before GTA?
That old chestnut. No. There's two ones that we get asked about. One is the Hunter game. We never played it. There was another one that the guy sued Rockstar over, saying we stole all their work. He came for an interview at DMA, and he brought a game disc to show us. We had it on for like a minute to run about, just to see if he could program. None of us played it. So none of the GTA stuff came from anything else. Like I say, it was a team game. The whole team put stuff into it and it evolved through that. It didn't come from anything else.
Another question there? Okay.
Nope.
It's not on. Nope. No, yeah, it's on. It's on. No. No. Okay. Yeah, do it again.
So there was a game in the Spectrum called Lotus Turbo Spirit by Darrell, where you could play as a car going around the city, and yes, you could kill people. So I also never played that game following the rules, but basically the idea was I was going around and just killing all the pedestrians possible.
I have since seen it, but I didn't see it back in the day. I went from a Spectrum to a Commodore 64 quite early, so I never actually got into that. But I have since seen it. It was quite good. So, no, wasn't an influence again, no.
Anyone else? Okay, come here. We try it again.
Hello.
Oh, yeah.
So we're all expecting GTA 6 soon. What do you think of the idea of going back to the beginning and doing another top-down GTA, but with modern technology?
So that's an interesting one, because back in the day, I was involved in GTA 1 and 2. GTA 1 and 2 were arcade games, not these role-playing things. That's why you get the score and stuff. It was all kind of arcadey. I prefer the top-down because, again, it's just that fun element of driving about. I was asked, when I left DMA, just at the end of GTA 2, I was kind of given carte blanche, do anything. Oh, sorry. What would you want to do if you could stay? And I would have actually done a top-down GTA in a Blade Runner style, so all neon lights and stuff. That's what I would have wanted the next GTA to be. I think that would have been amazing. It's kind of off-guard and just, yeah, that top-down view I love, and I would have carried that on. So it's obviously totally different. It's the Silicon Valley team that went on to create GTA 3 and all this kind of stuff, and they put in all these cutscenes and evolution and stuff. Very different from what would have happened. I don't think it would have been as massive if it stayed top-down, but I think a little diversion to do that would be great fun.
Couple of questions. One, if you ever tried or seen an attempt to recreate the GTA style on a high-end classic Amigas called Payback from the late 90s. Yeah. And the other one was, who hated Hare Krishnas and Elvis impersonators so much?
So the Payback one was the guy that sued Rockstar, saying they'd stolen him. He went on to write the Payback stuff. And I have since met him as well. It's fine. He got money out of a stone from Rockstar. Good on him. It had nothing to do with us. Like I say, we didn't get any inspiration from it. But he got money from Rockstar, so well done. The Hare Krishna one, yeah, okay, that was us as well. My friend Colin Anderson, who's head of music, we happened to be in town at lunchtime. We were walking through. There were Hare Krishnas in Dundee. They have never been before. They have never been since. Colin always walks with a tape recorder because he's a musician and sound effects. So we just walked behind them, recording them as they went. And then he went back and he did that, and they got put in the game. And then, like I say, anything that was fun or funny, and somebody just went, would it be great if we ran them over? And then you get that bonus. It's that arcade game thing again. Run them all over, get a bonus. And Garanga, there you go. It's just an evolution. Everything, the whole GTA was team-driven. And somebody would do something, somebody else would do it, and it would just gather momentum. It was great.
Okay, one last question.
Okay, it works. Yeah. Back on Lemmings, I think that Lemmings is one of the most wonderful games ever made on Amiga. And it stole hundreds of afternoons in my life, and I broke 3 mouses playing Lemmings. One of the best parts of the game is the music. I've always been curious about how that wonderful music was made, and the process of the excellent sound design of that game.
The music came from 2 different places. You also had the sound effects, which were incredible. The Lemming voices came from the artist Scott Johnson's mother. She did the voices, then they got sped up, and that was the Lemmings voices, and they were amazing. The music started out actually as doing 60s themed theme tunes from movies. You know, Batman, Mission Impossible, all that kind of stuff. It started out as that, but it was just the time when movie studios were starting to notice games because they were starting to make some money, and we were becoming a target for lawsuits and breaking copyright. So we thought, yeah, should probably not do that. So then Psygnosis took over the music, and then Cold Storage guy, Chris, well, right, he did all the music stuff, and he just had to do lots of music that wasn't in copyright. So he did a lot of original stuff. He also did How Much Is That Doggy in the Window, which was actually still in copyright, which nobody realized. So they did have to settle that after the fact. But he did all the music for it, and it just it fit perfectly for it. It drove you up the wall as much as the game did, and it's perfect.
Okay, thanks for joining us on stage, and thanks for your great work. Thanks, Mike.